Hello, everybody. Welcome to another podcast. My name is JJ Vola. Alongside here is my co-host Cal Vola. And today we have a special guest on our episode. I don't think he needs an introduction, but we have Dan Phillip. He's a serial entrepreneur who is from the Hamilton area, but now lives the digital nomad life and travels all over the world and spends most of his time in Bali. Welcome to the show, Dan. Such a great pleasure.
Thank you guys for having me down. It's an honor. It's really an honor.
Really? I feel like it's an honor having you on the podcast.
Hey, it's an honor. It's an honor.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen for a while because you are traveling all over the world all the time. So it was like when I hit you up on Instagram, you're like, yeah.
Listen, I saw that you guys were doing the podcast already, and I was like, it would be so cool to be on this. I had it in the back. Yeah, I had it. So when you sent it, I'm just like, yes.
Oh, no way.
It's a pleasure to be on.
Man.
Oh, thank you.
We appreciate it. And it's so funny. Like, I know you through Isaac, which is so funny.
We've known each other for a long time.
We have known each other for a long time. And it's funny, man. Like, every time we hang out, we talk about life a ton and whatnot. But really, we haven't really talked about what you do, Dan. And obviously, that's why we have you here today, which is awesome. And I'm super pumped to learn more about you and what you do. So, man. So tell us about, kind of growing up, early life, where you went to school and all that.
Yeah, so...
Take us way back.
Oh, man. I feel like I'm starting to get gray hairs now. And it's really starting to make me feel old. But... so actually I grew up in Jamaica for about 6 years. You probably didn't know this.
Not a clue.
Not a lot of people know this, but my parents were missionaries there for about 5-6 years. They moved back to Canada. I grew up on the farm. I was homeschooled for most of my early childhood growing up. I was taken out of school because I struggled with like hyperdyslexia, ADHD. I was super behind. That was just not really my way of like learning.
Sure.
And so that's why I was homeschooled, and not because my parents were super protective, but it's because I was I was really really behind.
Yeah.
Then I went for grade 12. I went to St. Mary's.
Yep.
That's where I met Isaac.
Yep.
And that's how we connected.
Right.
And then from there I went to Australia. But that's early childhood, just growing up on the farm.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, so after grade 12, at St. Mary's, did you go on to post-secondary or?
No, I didn't. Actually, it's interesting because I knew I wanted to travel. I got that bug when I was about like 15, 16. I went to Europe for the first time traveling by myself, and I got like the taste of freedom, and that was just incredible. And so right after high school, I decided to take a gap year, but like mixed. So I was actually studying for like 2 weeks at Algonquin, but they had a online program.
Okay.
But I actually never did that. I just told my mom that I was doing it, and then I was backpacking in Australia. I had some money saved up because I always worked when I was younger.
Right.
And I was backpacking there for a year in Australia.
Wow. And what was that like?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like something that I suggest anybody to do is always try to like at least once in your life hitchhike, because like that really puts a pair of balls on you, because you're gonna get in a car with a stranger, and you're gonna get essentially a free ride to wherever you want to go. And so I did a lot of I just traveled all around the place, picking up some small jobs and things like that, working on farms. And that's where I also learned how to surf.
Dude, cool. Yeah. Wow.
That's like everyone's dream, like even like a lot of people, once they get out of university, they're like, hey, I'm just going to go backpack for a year. I'm going to go see some different places.
I would recommend it 100%.
Yeah. So after school, take a year, go see the world, do it. Because once you start your career, it's tough to be able to take that type of time off and then return back to work and not have any issues, sort of thing. So
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So now you've been backpacking for that amount of time, and then now you're coming back. And what was have you ever had a job, Dan? Or
I had many jobs, tons of jobs, especially in Australia. But actually, there was, before I started traveling, there were 6 months that I worked. I worked 3 months for a copper kettle in Waterdown.
Oh, cool.
You know that place?
Yeah.
It's a shout out to everybody.
Copper
if
kettle.
You're passing through Waterdown, go stop at the coffee shop. I worked there. I worked making sandwiches in the back. I worked on the till. I worked closely with also the owner. And that's also where I realized that the restaurant business is really hard. Like that's something that is a hard business to
For sure.
to do. And then I also worked in sales.
Oh, cool. What'd you sell?
I sold automatic lubrication systems for trucks.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Like transport trucks?
Yes, transport trucks, trailers, heavy machinery, and so the system automatically lubricates all the bearings and all the points that have nipples to grease. And you know what?
Well, I used to be an apprentice mechanic before car sales,
Right.
So yeah, I kind of get
What's
it.
your take? So you saw
Well,
some systems.
well, you know, it wasn't my favorite job, that's for sure. I mean, my highlight of being a apprentice mechanic was being the tire jockey. So
Okay,
it's probably why I got lower back pain now.
yeah. But that's good. So that was my first sales role, and I was just like I was put on as like a research person. I was just a door knocker, but for
cool.
companies. So I would drive around Mississauga, Toronto, all around the area, and getting the fleet maintenance manager, the person who makes the decision.
Okay.
And then from there would put that in the CRM, and and I had a lot of training at the beginning for that too, and that was crazy for me. Like I'm not a huge sales guy before, but that really beat it into me. Like this is something that skill that you need.
And even just the courage to go to the people out
Yeah.
of nowhere. And I'm sure a lot of those guys, fleet managers, at least from the ones that I knew in the car sales industry, and they're not usually the happiest.
Listen, they don't want, I'll tell you a small story. The first day that I went out on the road, so we had like a few weeks of training, just like understanding the system, make sure we know the product. The first day I went out with the boss's son. And he is a machine at selling. Yeah. So we went in, we were driving, then we visited a shop in Mississauga, and we pulled in, and we went to talk to the fleet maintenance manager. And this guy, when he came out of his office, was fuming. I kid you not, like busting at the gears, just angry. He didn't want to see anybody that was representing grease machines because he had such a bad experience. 30-40 minutes later, we walked out with a purchase order for like 20 trailers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was Cam that was doing it, and I learned like, wow, this is such a beautiful art. And that was my sales experience. And then we got in the car, and he's like, okay, call this number, call these numbers. You got 20 numbers here. And I'm there like, I don't even know how to talk to anybody. Like,
right.
But that was the introduction for sales. That was the last job that I had before I went to Australia.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, just to take it back, like growing up, did you have a lot of dreams or aspirations or like a dream job that you wanted to have when you were younger?
Yeah. I really like building things. So on my dad's farm, we got a bit of a forest. So I was always out there building things. And so like for me, building, I love Legos. I love doing those sort of things. So it was really, I wouldn't say I'm like super artsy, but I'm kind of a mix of both. Like my mom is more the artsy person. My dad's the business farmer. And so, growing up, always doing some building things. And that was one of the dreams. I was like, I want to build something. I want to do something, just keep doing it.
Become a creator, man, and that's that's huge. I mean, even me growing up, like I just love building stuff, like go-karts and like racing them down hills and all sorts of fun stuff. Tree forts with buddies and and whatnot. So it's so funny, man. Like when you're a kid, you're like, oh man, those traits from when you were a kid to bringing them into as you're growing up and becoming an adult and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty.
Well, I think it helps you
awesome,
problem solve a lot earlier too, as younger age, right? Instead of always having something or having someone to fix the problem for you, is to actually figure out what's wrong. And the same thing, I loved building Lego when I was younger, but I think that also helped you in today because now I'm such a hands-on person, wanted to be a mechanic, but didn't realize that was my thing. People who play with Lego, they're making a difference.
But you guys always probably like took things apart, putting it back together. I mean, clearly with the Winnebago thing in your cars in the garage.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's special, and not everybody has that, but some people have it, and
For sure, man.
yeah,
For sure.
it was really, really, really cool.
Yeah. So you've started some businesses, Dan, and
Yeah.
So-
Listen, most of them have failed, but
which is great, and that's what we're supposed to do, and that's all part of entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
and getting started, trying something, failing forward, and learning from those mistakes and all that kind of stuff. So, kind of take us through your journey as an entrepreneur. What was your first venture?
there's so many, like, I think this for a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm sure you guys as well, like, ideas are popping all the time, and you have to try everything. Not everything works. Sometimes it's painful when it doesn't work, right? The first thing I did, like, a little bit of wedding videography, some photography, wedding stuff early on, when I was younger, and that was, I think, my first introduction to actual business. And then I was in Australia, then a couple years forward, when I was traveling Australia, I was broke, 100% broke. I had a car. I had bought a car when I got there, and just a Toyota minivan, and had my boards in there. And I was just driving around, and what I would do is I would say, hey, I would post on Facebook group, I don't have any money for food or for gas, but if you want to go here, if you cover the gas and food, I'll take you there. And so I was doing that. That's how I would travel. But then I got stuck in Perth for a couple months, just surfing, and I had absolutely no money. And I was a little bit rough around the edges, and I was applying for jobs, couldn't get any jobs. Then there was a person that I met while I was traveling, and they said, hey, you should check out medical trials. You guys know what medical trials are?
I think I've heard this story before.
Yeah.
But
No, I don't.
But no,
I think I've told
what is a medical trial?
So medical trial is like if there's I think it's a Marvel movie called Venom.
Yep.
Right.
Seen that?
Yeah.
You seen Venom?
Yep.
So you know how they have a lab and they have people in there and you sign a waiver and then they test drugs on you? That was my last job.
Wow.
Yes.
You were the person they were testing on you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So after they tested on and it's big money.
Really?
It's really big. It's big money.
Okay.
Because something could happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you can get this side effect, this side effect, this side effect, and it could possibly end in death. Please sign here. And I'm like, yes, sir. How much was it again? Right. And it was something like for like 5 days, like $7,000.
Wow.
And this is me. I'm broke as shit. I'm in my car, don't have money for gas, don't have money for food. I was like dumpster diving. You know dumpster diving,
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah.
It's awesome. Like, it's awesome. You find some real good treasure in there. Dumpster diving. There was like a baker that was bringing seconds down to the beach because there was a few of us there that were just surfing and just living out of the cars.
Yeah.
When I got that paper that was like, this is how much you're going to make. You're a healthy human. Sign here. I just signed it right away. And what they do is they first test it on animals, and then they test it on healthy individuals, and then they test it on people that are sick with the disease.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. Jesus,
Yeah.
man, that's
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
so crazy.
And hey, thank God, so far, no, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
So no side effects.
But hey, listen, maybe that's what got me into business. I mean,
Right.
it is. So in the to answer your question about like the business side of things, when I was there, that was 2016, I think, 2015, 2016. You can check it up because Bitcoin at the time, Ethereum at the time was $9, as I remember it.
Right.
I was in the medical trial, and there's just like a bunch of guys in there, some like, homeless guys, some backpackers. And when I was there, I had my computer, and I was just watching videos like how to make money on YouTube. And I stumbled into trading. I stumbled into e-commerce. And one of the things I tried was trading because there was a guy next to me. He's like, yo, listen, there's this thing called cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. I'm like, what the heck is that? And he's like, you gotta get it now. You can trade it. You can make a lot of money. And
Sure.
listen, these are guys that are all broke, but they're giving money advice, right?
Right.
But it was awesome. And I was an open book. I was like, anything that comes my way, I will try it.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I tried day trading, cryptocurrency. I sent a guy $500 that I had got from the trial. $500. He sent me Ethereum to my Kraken account. I still have the records, and I bought it for like $9.
No way.
Yes, because there was some hacking. It was down, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then they were like, oh, you can trade this thing called leverage. I'm like, what the heck is leverage? And then I just click like, okay, buy with leverage. I'm like, oh shit, it went down like 2 points and I lost all my money. So I was like, okay, that's not for me.
Yeah.
I got more. I tried a little bit and I just let it sit there like $1,000. And I'm like, this is not for me. I'll just hold long. And I just started reading and learning. And then e-commerce. And I heard about you can make a brand. And that is how I got super connected with Isaac. Right. Because Isaac was doing Let It Thrive.
Yes.
LIT. You remember that?
He was. Yeah. Yeah. Let It Thrive. Yeah. The clothing.
I was like, how can like this guy have a t-shirt? Like have a brand. I'm like, that blew my mind. I was like, that was insane. I was hooked from there.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Man.
That was the real start.
Jesus. Jesus. So
that's a good story.
I mean, it's just, you couldn't
dive into
that's a great story.
Doing a medical trial, $7,000, started doing Bitcoin. And
yeah. So I ended up doing 6 more of those trials. So I did 7 trials in total.
Jesus, bro.
And the last trial where I was like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I went in and it was I think it was a 9-day trial. All I remember was going in, getting checked in. There was 2 guys next to me that they weren't allowed to participate in the medical trial because they had THC in their blood.
Okay.
So they weren't clean. They were smoking some good grass before. And then I woke up 9 days later.
No way.
Yeah. And
wow.
And that's when I was like, there's no way I'm doing this shit ever again. So,
what happened to me over those 9 days, bro?
I don't know what they did, but I mean, when you sign that paper, they can do anything to you, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And you're locked in a lab facility. You can't go out.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, that's nuts.
But it's good money.
Jeez.
I'm sure a lot more people have done it than we think. You know, or
probably
it's way more
someone listening to this is
common.
going to be like, okay, let me try it.
Yeah, they're gonna be googling.
What could happen?
We're not promoting medical trials, but you got to do what you got to do, right?
Listen, it brought a whole nother perspective on how people make money.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of industries that I was like super against, but after doing that, I mean, I sold my body.
Sure. Yeah. So
True.
So back to the crypto. So if you had held on to what you bought, because it was you said it was $9 per Bitcoin or
per Ethereum.
Per Ethereum.
Yeah, 8 or 9.
Okay, and what's like Ethereum? What's a max it's hit since?
It's hit a lot more than that.
Okay,
I don't know.
I don't mean to bring up.
I don't know, but it's a beautiful story about that is like a painful and beautiful story about that is, I got a message like 6 months later from a guy, or like 8 months later from the same guy that was in the trial in a Facebook group. He's like, yo, we're rich, man. I'm like, what do you mean we're rich? He's like, we're rich. It just hit $220 Ethereum. I'm like, what you mean $20 Ethereum? And he's like, no, 226. And I was like, wow. First, I was like, wow. But at the same time, I was like, shit, because I put a take profit at $26 in there. Oh. So I made a little bit of coin, but not as much as if I held it.
Right. Yeah. And there's
I can't say I'm that guy that, bought Ethereum when it was $9 and because I really believed in it. I didn't know what it was.
Sure. And there's so many people like that bought Bitcoin, Ethereum, any of those cryptocurrencies and sold out when they, they're like, hey, I need this $500 or $1,000 or whatever.
You have any crypto?
I don't.
You have any crypto?
No. But there was something I was curious in, and it's funny, a couple of years ago, a lot of guys were getting me interested, coworkers, but it was at that time when I saw Bitcoin had hit, was it 19,000 at the time, when it was its first hike up.
Its first bull run.
Right, and then it went down, and then all of a sudden went up to, what was it, the highest peak was at 70? It's crazy, right?
Crazy,
it was just in the stocks.
Yeah.
Crazy. No, but definitely if you
never bought? You bought some?
No.
Or you never touched it?
No.
You ever bought some?
I bought some.
I know you did.
Everybody had to, right?
It's a drug deal we're doing.
Yeah. You bought some?
I mean, Like,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah, man, it's wild. It's
Now,
wild.
is it something that you would recommend for somebody to invest in?
I don't give any investment advice.
Okay.
Sure.
But if I could give some advice, it would be don't take advice. That's the advice I would give. No, listen, there's so many different ways to make it, I think, and crypto is obviously one of them. Like, a lot of people have made money in it. I've made some coin as well. I've also used it actually more than I've made money. I've used crypto a lot,
Like for
payments.
paying. Oh, yeah, right.
For
Okay.
payments and things.
Now, how does that work?
So like in Philippines, we have staff there, and for a long time, wires from Canada and also from Europe to Philippines was hard, and so all our staff would be paid in crypto. But they're so much more advanced in Asia, in the places where crypto is legal. They have apps since already 5 years of apps that can take in crypto, and you can convert it, you can hold it and change it in. So it's a big thing already in
Sure.
the East.
Crazy, man.
True.
It's way more used than we think. I mean, we're just I feel like we're in this bubble, but like all over the world. I mean, Isaac's visiting somewhere where crypto is like the main currency, you know, and
I think it's Guatemala or something like
Guatemala,
that.
somewhere
down there.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
You know, like, and a lot of people are adopting it way sooner than we are, and it's going to take these smaller countries kind of use all the time and whatnot to kind of prove the concept, and then I feel like we're just gonna kind of follow along, sort of thing. So
yeah, we'll see. Like, I've been following it a little bit. There's like CBDCs now, which are like central bank cryptocurrencies. So like the government will have the technology, but let's see.
yeah, we'll see.
Sure.
We'll see for sure. All right. So after the medical trials,
After the medical trials, I started talking with Isaac. He actually sent me a T-shirt. I was blown away.
Yeah.
Then I started to research, like, how do you make a T-shirt brand? And my first ever brand was called Byron Butch.
Yeah.
If you look up Byron Butch right now, it's a convicted felon.
Oh, okay.
I did not know how to do research for your names. I didn't.
Right.
I didn't.
Sure.
And I was doing print on demand, which is basically you can have like all your products, but you don't hold inventory, so you can start it up for free. And then when you get an order, they will ship it for you.
Awesome.
And I worked like a few months on that. I had some savings because I was doing the medical trials. And I told everybody about it. Everybody I told about it. And I got one order. Only one order. All my friends and people were like, yeah, that's sick. I'm going to get something. I only got one order for a T-shirt. And that was from my dad.
Wow.
Wow. I was like, thanks, Dad. So then I was like, I'm doing something wrong. I see all these people that are flexing these numbers. Like, these guys are making bank. Like, how do I do it?
Sure.
It was a tough
Man.
lesson.
It's wild because I had a clothing company too way back in the day, and same thing, man. Like, we set up the website, all the products, and fulfillment center.
Did you get inventory?
We had inventory.
Oh, you
we
actually
had it
had inventory.
in a fulfillment center
Really?
in Las Vegas. And it was supposed to be like an American-based kind of brand, and we had it in the fulfillment center, ready to rock and roll. And man, we got not many orders, like under 20 orders, sort of thing. And it was, it's crazy, man. It's hard. It's hard for sure, man. And that's all part of the game, like and you learn so much from that. And you understand, the game is way longer. Like, it takes 5 years for a lot of businesses to kind of get up and going and, working every weekend, promoting your product and all that sort of stuff. So, it's all part of the game and learning and moving forward. So,
and I think too, like, everybody that listens to this that have been in business or like has been in startups and things like that, it's not always rainbows, it's not always rainbows and cupcakes.
Definitely not.
You could be doing like huge numbers today, and a few months from now, you could be absolutely wrecked.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It always fluctuates. And the moment you don't have sales, the moment you start freaking out, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're a sales guy, right? So what do you do in that moment?
That's just it. Well, you're always going to have those times of months where it's ups and downs, but when it's those down times, you definitely feel it for sure. Because when you live that high, you start spending high, right? And you those times start coming down, and you're like, wow, okay, should have saved some, put it aside, eh?
That's a hard lesson. had to learn.
But it's a good lesson, because then you know what, and then the second time around or third time, depending how many times you had to learn, right?
Yeah.
You get to learn more and more. But so take us through some of your other businesses, like ones that have maybe not succeed today, but just some learning lessons that you've had in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'll give you two. So after that, I went back. I'm like, okay, what do I need in order to get these numbers? Because something is not right? Like, I'm making one sale to my dad, and I'm telling everybody about it, and I'm pushing it. Like, what's wrong here? And it was hard at the start, because you spend so much time, building something, and then it's just nothing happens, and you're expecting all these, these rainbows, and it's just nothing happened. But I went back to the drawing board, kept doing some research. Then I was like watching YouTube videos on how to drop ship, how to sell products, and one of the big concepts that was coming is like, you got to find like hot selling products. What is something that people are gonna buy on an impulse? They see it, they want it, they buy it, and then from there I had a little bit of experience video editing, and I knew that Drake had. Maybe I should Drake. If Drake ever listens to it, he's gonna be like, "Screw this guy." But this was my first step. I was like, okay, so people have fan bases, right? Big people have fan bases, and they want to buy a product that is centered around these people. And so what I did was I found knockoffs for Drake merch, like Hotline Bling, like the pink hat with the Hotline Bling. And then at the same time, there was a video, because I learned that you also need viral content in order to have cheaper ad spend. So I also learned about marketing and spending ads. And so what I did was I created a small like Drake shop. And I had all his merch there, 100% illegally. This is not. I got 100% shut down, but I was still in Australia at the moment, and what I did was I made a 5 or 10 second video of Drake. I don't know if you remember this, but remember that song, that song, Hotline Bling, right?
Yeah.
Where Drake is like swinging and doing that crazy dance, and it went viral.
Yeah.
And everybody was making memes like he's with a lightsaber, like zoom, zoom, zoom.
Making pizza and all that stuff.
Making pizza, or he's like playing tennis with, like Wii tennis or that shit. So it's like, okay, it was almost Christmas time. I'm like, let me edit Drake throwing away hats and having like a big Santa thing, and I put a Santa hat on Drake. It's just a video of Drake like throwing hats, and there's a big caption that says like 50% off Drake hats. And
oh, wow.
I like didn't sleep for days. I was so pumped, like, shit, is this gonna work? I put $5 on ads. I went to sleep. I woke up with the next morning with like 10 orders.
Wow.
Yeah.
No
for
way.
the hats.
Jesus.
And I was like, it was just a godsend moment where I had been working so hard up to that point, and just it clicked. It was illegal, I found out later.
Sure.
And but yeah, that was the first
sales,
success,
right?
First sales. That's
Sure.
the dopamine, the cocaine just hitting in, and you're off to the races.
Yeah.
Wow, sounds like you learned a lot in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And you've gone through a lot. Now, to kind of pass forward into today, what are some things that you're doing today? What are some big success stories that you have?
Yeah, so fast forward, that got shut down. I went back to Canada. I tried to start up a drink business. That didn't work. I went out to Philippines because I was like, I tried to hire people here. Nobody wanted to work for me. I was super young. Went out to Philippines, started building a team. I started doing outsourcing. So that's one of the things that we do now is business process outsourcing in Philippines. So essentially lower cost labor. I kind of get vilified a little bit from that, but we pay better than JP Morgan does out there. Okay. So I can say that.
Sure.
And then from there, we started to continue building brands. At the same time, not everything worked. And then I realized that if I really wanted to do something that was stable, it's like I had to look down the line. So like you're selling products, or you're reselling products, then you're selling products, then you're customizing products, and then you're sourcing products, and then you're in China sourcing products, and then you're making the actual products in the factory. And so I've been always trying to go down that line. So after that, went to China. So we also do sourcing for people.
Okay.
Cheapest out there.
Right. So if I need a product
Yeah.
made, or I want to start ordering in large quantities,
Yeah.
I reach out to you.
Yeah.
You source it with a factory in China.
Yeah.
And then we place that order, and then it gets shipped.
Yeah. So after this, I'm going to be going back to China, but we've been in China. We have a small office in Yiwu.
Okay.
And a warehouse there, a small team. And we've been sourcing and developing connections with people in China for about 6 years. And what's crazy is you think Alibaba is cheap, but it's not cheap.
Okay.
Unless you go to China.
Sure.
So like there are sites inside China that also wholesale, about 10 to 20% cheaper than Alibaba for sourcing.
Okay. Because I've used Alibaba in my business, and I've ordered product, and you think it's the cheapest. Like it seems so cheap.
It seems so cheap, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure if you go down there and you meet with the representatives, I'm sure there's another price break.
It's exactly how it is too, and it's something like, because I was also when I first went there, like the salary down there is maybe 50% less than here, but for like really entry jobs, but I was surprised that like most middle salaries are almost the same, if not better, than here. But what they are able to do is they're able to have the efficiency of their manufacturing. So even if they have a high labor cost, they have an amazing efficiency there.
Got it. So they can crush
Did
the
you ever
output.
have? I have a question. Did you ever have stuff stuck at the border when you're importing, or you were able to escape that?
Yeah. I've always been fine. Never an issue. I brought it in by sea and by air. Air is obviously.
So did you clear the customs yourself? Or
I did. Yeah.
Nice.
I went to the border.
Nice.
Got my way bill. Then I would go to an office to clear it. Then I would go to the go pay my duties, and like figure out my tariffs and all that kind of stuff, and go through the computer.
But it's kind of cool, right? Once you
cool,
know,
man.
Once you know,
Yeah. So now I think I can like import pretty much anything, but
Yeah.
but you normally have to pay a broker to do that and to do that whole process, and like, man, why don't I just go down and do it, sort of thing. So it was pretty cool. So did you have stuff held up?
We've had so many issues. Now we are doing, like, a lot of our customers are ordering what we call bedroom or empty school. We call it an empty school channel. It's basically a tax-free channel, and it's door-to-door. So everything is prepaid in China.
Okay.
All the duties and everything is covered, and then it just clears customs like whoosh,
Okay.
no problem,
No
no day,
way.
no stopping. It just goes in.
So when they put on the way bill, like, this is the classification of goods, and then when they go to broker it out, that's what they put in there, and then you're able to easily get it.
I mean, I don't know the full process. Like, I know for some countries there are people that are paid at the border.
Sure.
Not for Canada and for US, but we had a shipment for Jeff the barber last year. And this year we sent some more stuff for him, and he didn't have any problems. But if they did it themselves, they would go through like a lot of issues.
Sure. So, who is Jeff the barber?
He's like he also has a podcast. He does he just does celebrity haircuts.
Okay.
I'll send it to you later.
Oh, cool.
Was he part of the like David Dobrik crew? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got
that
it.
was actually a really cool connection. We got that connection. So the agency that works for him, or works with him, was through a friend also from Mary's.
No way.
And it's just crazy how like things just connect. And
Jesus. Okay, so you work with Jeff the barber. Is there anybody else?
We also we just ended our contract with the Milk Boys, so that's a Canadian plug, and we did their customer support.
No way.
Yeah.
No
So
way.
that's for outsourcing. Those are like two big names.
Yeah. So is that primarily what you try and do? Is kind of work with those types of brands?
No, like most people that we work with are not like, they don't have personal brands. They're just like lay low guys that are importing to different areas. Like and then for outsourcing, like when crypto was a big thing, we did a lot of like customer support, email support, sales support for crypto startups and stuff like that. And, yeah.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
And what are you doing today? What's
what am I doing? I'm here on the podcast. Doing my best. Actually, you know, I went out to Nova Scotia just recently.
Yeah.
I would love to get into farming.
Really?
Yeah.
No way. dude.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's really like
It's probably so peaceful.
that, and the numbers are actually amazing on it.
Wow.
Like chicken farming. I mean, you have all the bureaucracy here in Canada and the States, but you know how fast chickens grow? You ever been to a chicken barn?
Isaac he lived on a farm, and
Did you ever peek in there?
I never did, man. I always wanted to, and I'm like, why can't I hear them chirping? You know? Every time I went to go visit.
They're on steroids, that's why.
Yeah.
Juiced out.
How quickly though do they grow?
So it's like compounding interest on steroids. If you look at the numbers of how fast they can reproduce, it's like incubation phase. So I'll tell you, I shouldn't know this much about farming, but when I think of something, I'll just dive into it. I had a dream one time, and I woke up, and the dream was I was just standing on a hill and looking over a field of chickens. And I'm like, hey, maybe chicken farming is a good thing. So I started researching, but one chicken, if it's fertilized, it can lay like upwards of 250 eggs per year. Wow. Right? That's like minus the ones that don't survive and that sort of stuff. If they're fertilized, those 250 eggs can in 21 days become chickens. So your one chicken can turn into, after 1 year, 251 chickens. Wow. Think about that.
That's nuts.
And
man.
yeah, that like think about the business there for a second. Like that is, if people say they can't, make money, they're just looking in the wrong places. Like
right.
I've had a lot of times like where I've had a hard time making money, but that's pretty cool. Like, but then there's bureaucracy and like, it's protected. You can't do that in Canada.
Sure. And where do you fit all those chickens, man?
Exactly. That's another thing too. Yeah, you need the land, you need the barns, you need to protect it from the coyotes.
Sure. And then they're like, we need to be free range, and we need to give them room so they can,
You ever tried a free range yet? It's just so much better.
It is, man. Yeah. You know when you buy a high quality egg, like, damn, bro, look at that yolk. It's just like,
what are you talking about right
now? But that's a beautiful thing. Also, perception of, you would know this too, right? How you sell something.
Yeah, sure. It's so cool. Sure. And yeah, so much overlooked because you think a lot of companies want to go to the big buildings, probably media is always probably number one, right? But you take it down, I'm sure a lot more farmers, fields, if not crops, are probably dying every year, or at least a good portion of the land, for especially around here in the GTA, Hamilton area, right? So, but yeah, farming, wow. That's the next step.
So that's my step when I got some big bags.
Sure. And is that a feeling of, I've done all this like tech stuff. I've been online. I've been like, diving right into like the online stuff. And I've noticed that a lot of people get so into it. And then they're like, man, I want to do something physical with my hands. I want to like feel the earth again. I want to like enrich myself, like, and be in nature and like, and all that kind of stuff. And I've noticed that with a lot of entrepreneurs that like, hey, I just want to like simplify things and, or do something totally different to give them just that different feel.
And to find your peace too. I think a lot of people are so stressed out, especially in living in cities and a lot going on every day, on your phone. Just be so nice to wake up on such a 100-acre property. No phone ringing.
Just smell the chicken free range eggs. But yeah, so one day.
Yeah, that's cool.
COVID for us was super, super hard. We had expanded to 7 locations, distribution centers. 7 locations in 7 different countries. That all came crashing down. And I had built a really, really strong business, bootstrap, but it wasn't strong enough, and came all crashing down.
Jeez, man.
So the last couple of years we've been repiecing it together, but it's doing pretty good. And now we're moving into the last 4 or 5 months. I haven't been pretty active on social, but we're moving into software now.
Oh, no way.
For the first time.
Okay. What type of software? Like SaaS or SaaS business?
So you guys will could be a customer for the company. We're building an auto posting platform for all social medias.
That's funny. I was literally just looking that up the other day. I was literally trying to find a platform where, or even just planning, just to do everything like, what is it, like TikTok, Instagram. Like, it's so tough to come home and to remember every day to post.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there are a lot of companies out there, but we're doing it. We're an auto poster on steroids. As people in marketing, you guys are all in marketing and sales as well, right? The industry is changing a lot on how the consumers consume their content. You know, there is a lot of long form content, but there's a lot of short form bites, reels. That's your hook to catch your fish, right? And then they come into the longer form, and then they purchase the product. So what our platform is going to be an auto poster that will be connected with AI. We're trying to make it so that you have a long form video that comes in, and then it cuts everything, does everything for you, finds the soundbite moments, capture those, and then captions it, it listens, it hears the content, and then after that it will produce the captions underneath it as well. And then the other thing is it will automatically post to all the social medias, and not just the Canadian and North American, European ones, but also hitting China and also hitting South America. And because there's more, as I believe that as there's more friction in government with different nations, there is going to be a lot of bans on certain platforms because of the data usage, and so there'll be a lot more that spring up from there.
Wow, sign me up.
Great.
So
idea,
we'll
man.
say we're still. It's been already like about 4 or 5 months that we've been in it, it's. I never thought that software would be so hard, but I'm getting spanked out of my mind for it. But I'm super excited.
That's
Sure,
cool.
man.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah, and that's what you've done like in the past. Like you like spent so much time in the e-commerce world and kind of building that up and understanding, what it takes for a customer to see something that interests them and then see that product and then make that sale. So now almost kind of reverse engineering that and then making it so that the content that's being produced is, way easier for us creators to be able to post that up, sort of thing.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of softwares that can do that. There's quite expensive. We're going to try to go on like really cheap end, and we're going to also have it so there's one principle that we all as entrepreneurs is the multiplication. Like, how can you multiply something the fastest? As a growth hacker, you're trying to find like the fastest, most easiest and cheapest way to grow something exponentially. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, just absolutely blow it up.
Yeah.
And so what we're also trying to do is be able to you have one reel. Let's say you have one reel. I was looking at your Instagram reels. One of them blew up, right? That's pretty cool. But imagine if that reel could get posted not just on one profile, but on a profile for every single country out there.
Wow.
With their language captions and also with the translation. And actually you can do, like, with AI, there's a lot of powerful things that I can't even just.
I know.
Like, have you played around with ChatGPT?
Well, so I literally saw a video
yeah.
yesterday. It was a 5-minute video about how a guy was. What's the one where it makes the pictures now?
Midjourney.
Yeah, so I saw that one. There's like a V5 that just came out, and then I saw the guy playing around with it, and even him just typing in like a blue instead of red, it changes the whole color, but obviously keeps the same idea. I was blown away. He said like a future warrior in the space, and it just already made like 4 pictures of it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And also, I think it's Microsoft that just is in beta right now. And what's beautiful is like these massive companies are creating these AIs, but they're allowing smaller developers to connect with their API, so we can use all the products that these companies use. So we're gonna also integrate ChatGPT. There's something that just came out. I forget the name, but we're sitting here talking on a podcast, right? in English with our own voices. An AI is getting developed right now that can automatically translate our voices into a different language and have it sound exactly how we
Like
are.
the same tone.
Same tone,
Wow.
same vocal strength.
Jesus, man.
That's insane.
That's the future.
That is
That's
the that is
crazy.
cool, right?
Yeah,
Because think
man.
like someone in Africa or someone in China or someone in Philippines or Indonesia is gonna be listening to this podcast, and
Dude.
Yeah, but see, think of all the crazy downside of it, part of it.
I agree.
Because, like,
Go for it. Go
like
for it.
there's a lot of hackers out there, which obviously already a lot of clickbait stuff when you get the weird emails, it just looks so believable. Then you could have somebody, not only like an influencer or a celebrity, make a video with their face and now making it sound like it's actually their audio tone. Like there'd be so much fake stuff. And then,
There's a lot.
I was also thinking, okay, think about, when I called TD, I got voice recognition.
right. Wow.
So
wow.
if someone can, good night Irene on all you fellows that have banks in Canada. Right? So
True.
it's gonna happen. There's no stopping it. But we'll see what.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's
That's
wild.
so scary. I mean, it's just so cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, for all the positive reasons, but then at the same flip side, it's very scary.
Yeah.
But that's what's next. Okay, wow.
Yeah. It's
So
like,
if there's a war from it, I will not be here. I'll be up north in a cabin,
With some chickens.
yes,
yeah.
some free range chickens.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
awesome. So quickly, just tell me about Bali a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of like the digital nomad life
Yeah.
and living in Bali and kind of your experience, doing all that kind of stuff, because that's something that I'm definitely interested in. Like, it'd be so cool to do something like that, even for like a year or 6 months.
Listen, you guys got to come down. You got to start something up there. Whether it's like you rent a small property, turn it into Airbnb, or do like Bali's a really cool place. I first went there when I was backpacking in Australia. I had a little bit of money. This was before I was living on the beach. I went out there with a German guy who I was backpacking with, and I just fell in love. It's a really, really cool place. There's a lot of tourists, a lot of nomads living there. When COVID happened, I wanted to look for a place that I could run everything, because we closed almost everything down. We were just working remote, and I was looking for a place that would be good to hold up for a little bit. So I was like, hey, well, let's go back to Bali. So I went out there, and I also love fashion, so I opened up like a small fashion factory, just with 6 machines, and a small little restaurant. The restaurant never made money. Still hardly. It's still in Bali right now. If you're passing by Bali, stop by the factory. We're in a smaller location now, but
Sure.
Bali's a sweet place. You guys got to come.
Yeah.
You guys really got to come.
Man, I'd love to go.
Yeah.
It's cool. There's so many different entrepreneurs, a lot of like startups,
Yeah.
stuff like that, and people, just traveling, doing digital nomad, working from anywhere in the world.
If you
sort of thing.
guys came to Bali with the podcast, you would have 4 people a day.
Wow.
Really?
And really like some really crazy, messed up people, and some really interested individuals, and it's a special place.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do you still have the restaurant?
Yes. So we got the factory. That's like a sewing place where people can make custom clothes, and that's where I make my fashion as well. And that has a little coffee shop with it. And then on top of that, we're now making a rooftop bar called Cupid's. Yeah.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, jazz bar.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. But that is like, it's like a slow process.
Sure.
So I was down there, also laying brick, also for the walls and stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So excited for that one to open up. And I
that's
got
awesome.
a bottle for you of some special juice to.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, that's going to be super cool. Yeah, man. So, like, if people want to look you up, Dan, and learn more about you, what's the best way to, get in touch, see what you're all about, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you can always come to my home address. It's
Yeah.
50. Yeah, you can hit me up on Instagram. I'm always like, I've been off Instagram for a lot now, but you can hit me up on Instagram. Our software company is called Viral Bay.
Cool.
.io.
Okay.
It's not. It's like Pirate Bay, but Viral Bay.
Fire Bay. Sick, man.
So I'll give you
yeah.
guys some early access to it once we have it up.
Sure,
But yeah,
sure.
just hit me up on either LinkedIn or Instagram.
Instagram.
great.
What's your handle? Instagram.
It's Daniel Phillip, and I almost forgot. There's one for you.
Wow. I was gonna ask. I was like,
And one for you.
no way, bro.
Honestly, I've been
Jesus,
looking
man.
at these for the last
Yeah.
like 2 days. Once I heard that you were coming on the show, because
Yeah.
I was like, there was a watch that popped up once I googled your name,
Yeah.
and I was like, so tell us a little bit about this. What did it take to start a watch company? Just in
So,
case everybody wants to check it
yeah,
out.
guys,
A quick,
check it out.
quick little.
Wow.
I love
Thank you,
fashion.
thank
I
you.
love design. I designed this. It's my baby. Quick little story behind this is with like selling brands and stuff, you can buy like a lot of fake followers and all that jazz. And a friend of mine, we were talking one day. He's like, okay, let's make a bet. Let's see who can actually get to 100,000 followers on Instagram the fastest. And we made a money bet.
How much?
I think it was like 10 grand, but
Wow.
this was a few years ago. I'm pretty sure it was 10 grand, but it was within 1 year. So I didn't hit 100K in 1 year. I hit it 100K in like a year and a half followers. And so he didn't pay me. I won it, theoretically, because he's not 100. But I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, what are these people doing? Like, I'm not going to, take my shirt off and dance. So what to do? And I always liked watches. I always liked designs. So like, I'll make a watch with my name on it, and then started selling. And it doesn't make money. It just like compounds. So I just sell everything at break even, and then the name gets out.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
Love it.
awesome.
That's
Wow.
how
Wow.
I grow. And also, my mom doesn't like I mean, it's a little vain. I think it's a little vain to have your name on something, but it's here now.
I love it,
hope
man.
you guys enjoy.
No,
it.
I love it.
honestly,
Thanks
I
so
love
much,
it.
man.
Oh
I
my
appreciate
gosh.
that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So can people can go online and buy these watches?
Yes, right now we have a 1 week maintenance for the website, so we'll be back in a week, and I'm also making fashion as well.
Perfect.
So we have t-shirts, boots, and
Everything.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Wow.
Well, by the time this podcast airs, it won't be for a few weeks, so
Yeah.
website will be up, which is awesome, man.
Listen,
Website is now live.
it's live. If it's not live, just send me a DM.
We're still working on it.
for
Yeah,
sure.
we're still exactly like if it's not
sure.
up, it's not
Sure,
up.
sure.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Listen,
Wow.
when I get mine up, you guys will have to fly down to China and have
That's
some
so
tea with
cool.
me.
Yo,
Oh my
man,
gosh.
so down.
And just to tell everybody what your next adventure for your podcast is.
It's gonna be tea time, and we'll see when it's up, it's up. So
Yeah.
maybe it's
Sure.
not ever up. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
We'll see.
All right,
See,
cool.
this is also the ADHD in us, like popcorn is
Yeah.
going off a million miles an hour, and you have all these ideas. You're like, man, I just want to accomplish everything all at one
Yeah.
time.
in one day.
How do you guys deal with it?
I don't.
I don't sleep.
Yeah.
It's incredibly hard, man, and I guess just focusing on the things that make money, or like at least help us live,
Yeah.
sort of thing. But yeah, man, even with this podcast and like all the ideas that JJ and I are coming up with all the time, it's it's nonstop, but it's it keeps the fire going. It keeps fueling you, sort of thing.
And it's crazy just in the last, we've had this podcast live now, I guess by the time this video goes live, almost 2 months now. And I think the biggest accomplishment, it's easy to look at the dream, the vision, the future, and see how successful it could be. But I think what's so fun, and just having you on the podcast, which by the way, like Daniel has almost 300,000 followers now, so
Yeah,
that's it's crazy.
You know what? I'm a farmer. Like at heart, I'm a farmer. It's not. And I actually was verified before.
Okay.
Oh, they stripped it from you, eh?
Yeah.
They did.
Oh, really?
They did.
No way.
Because I did it through music and I got it. And then one day I was in Bali and I was out for breakfast and I was with the person and they were like, "Yeah, I thought you were verified." And I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm not verified anymore." And
No
you know
way.
what's crazy? In that moment, I realized, of course, like when I got verified, it was I knew like when I interacted with people, like it's sort of strange on how we perceive people. When I got taken away, I didn't care about it much because I knew it's possible to do it again. But People are just people, you know.
Exactly. 100%, man.
And
So true.
like, listen, maybe one day we'll be like Jeff Bezos, but I'm sure we'll still be, you know, okay to sit here and have a decent conversation no matter where we are.
That's
100%,
so cool.
man. 100%.
Absolutely.
And it's so true, man. Fame, a lot of celebrities and all that kind of stuff as they get bigger, and people pump them up and stuff like that. It's like it's so important to like just remember, who your friends are, your family, all that kind of stuff, and keep
100%.
everyone as humble as you can, man. Because without that and not having any integrity, that's winning at life.
Yeah,
for
and
me.
I would also say one thing. This is something I learned very early on, because when I saw everybody flexing numbers on their Shopify dashboard, oftentimes it would be cropped, so you'd see the line go up, but you don't know what's after there. And I can tell you from personal experience, there's times where I've been up on the bank heavy,
Sure.
and there's also been times when I've been deep
Sure.
in debt. So you never know what people are doing. If they're flexing, they might not be that all in a bag of chips, right? So
Yeah.
For sure,
so
man.
true.
100%. In your experience, what was the biggest, the highest you ever got to, Dan? If you don't mind us asking, which is
one thing I do,
yeah.
I always ask people how big their team is.
Okay.
Because when you know how big someone's team is, you can calculate roughly how much they were making. So at our peak, we had 2,500 staff on our team across 7 locations. So to cover payroll, we had to make some money. But now we don't have 2,500 right now, but we're still going strong and rebuilding.
Jesus, man.
But that's I always ask that, like, how big is your team?
Okay. Okay.
Well, we're a team of 2, so.
But another caveat to that, it only took 11 people to make Instagram, and they sold for $1 billion or so, right?
So true.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
You never know.
100%.
Oh, wow. Daniel, thank you so much for coming
It's
on
been
the
a pleasure.
podcast. Honestly, thank you everyone to listening, watching.
Thank you, guys.
Be sure to hit that like button if you liked today's video. And also be sure to hit subscribe. We're definitely growing fast. We want to keep going that way. And be sure to hit the notifications so you don't miss out on any content. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We will certainly catch you in the next podcast. See you guys.
Thank you.
Wow. Oh, my God.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yes.
How long was that?
That's awesome.
Probably definitely over an hour.